All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Sportsmen. It's just the two of us today, myself, Mikey V, and you got Joey D. The ticket is indisposed right now.
Yeah.
Some type of stomach issue. I don't know what's going on with him, but something's going on with him. I'm praying for him and hoping the best. He's going to be spending a lot of time on the John, but that being said, we're hopeful for him. He'll be back next week with a vengeance, I'm sure.
He always
But
bounces back.
he always does. Joe, say hello to the people.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sportsman. Definitely necessary to do, an episode this week after last week's travels and being in New York. We did the live episode, which is great. We love doing the lives, but you guys deserve good quality. You deserve the YouTube video. You deserve to be able to go in and watch it the way that it's meant to be. And that's why we're doing it. That's why we're a three-man team. And today it takes two. That's what
right.
you got.
Two to tango, and with that, we're going to take this is going to be a viewer question heavy episode this week, because honestly, in the world of sports, with the NHL finals ending and now the NBA being over, we're in NBA free agency. We'll start off there, we'll handle some soccer, and then we'll go right into your viewer questions. So NBA free agency, the big news, Joe. Two big things, really. Jason Tatum signing that massive extension with the Celtics, 5 years, 314 million. And then, of course, Paul George to the 76ers. What do you think about both of those moves, especially, obviously, the amount of money that Jason Tatum just got?
Well, you knew when Brown got the big contract he got last year, you knew it was a matter of time that Tatum was obviously going to be a pending free agent himself, and he was going to definitely make more. Becomes the highest paid player in the league, if I'm not mistaken, and I mean, it's a monster. I mean, but this comes right off after winning a championship. There's no surprise there. You win a championship in any sport. You look at a guy even like Joe Flacco, you're due to get paid, especially when you're the leader of a team, which he is. And listen, I think that this is a smart move by the Celtics. I think they're ramping up to try to win, not just this year, but they have the lineup, they have the pieces that they can win for multiple, if not, next year and the year after. They're going to have a really, really good chance. They have arguably the best duo, the best tandem that you can have from a 1-2 scoring punch. And they got guys who are role players and guys who are, like Horford and some of these guys who are older who, are not making top tier dollar necessarily. So I think it's a great play by the Celtics. I think Tatum, when I look at him as a player, and I don't know what your thoughts are, Mikey, but he's a guy who really doesn't get into too much of the limelight. He kind of sticks to his own guns. He's a straight shooter. He's good with the press. He's not a bad dude by any means. He's the kind of guy that you want kind of manning the ship in the locker room. So for him to receive this, I think it's well deserved. I think he's taken his game to the next level the last 2-3 years, and now they got a championship. So good for them.
Yeah, and Tatum, you look at him, he's a guy that could shoot the rock very well. He could do everything. He's intense. Especially from the forward position. And like you said, the tandem with Brown, you lock those two up now in the prime of their careers. You figure that NBA, the way it's gone, if you got a duo that's really potent like that, you're able to at least, maybe if they're not going to win the championship every single season, which I mean, I don't think they're on the verge of creating a Golden State like dynasty just quite yet. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. Maybe they are on the verge, because they have been firmly in the mix every single year. And this year they finally got over the hump. But even still, you lock up a duo like that, for sure moving forward, you're going to be a playoff team every year. You're going to be ultra competitive every year. I'm fascinated to see now that the owner of the Celtics is selling the team, and
is he really?
Yeah, I believe that he put them up for sale, or he's open to selling the team if anything else.
Make some money now.
I mean, this guy, he bought him for like some ridiculously low price back whenever it was a very low price, and now you're talking about probably a team that I mean, you're talking in the billions. It's going to cost billions.
Oh yeah, they're one of the more storied franchises in basketball in any sport. To be honest,
I mean, that's like buying that's like they're a Cowboys, New York Yankees level type of team for their respective sport.
Oh,
so that's going to be a hefty price tag. Paul George to ticket. Sixers would have loved to have ticket on to get his opinion on that.
I know, dude.
I think that's a big move for them, Joe. Is it going to be something that's going to make a noticeable difference moving forward for them, or do you think that George is kind of on the downtrend as opposed to the uptrend?
The concern I always have with Paul George is his injuries, is that he always seems to get hurt at some point of the season. And you had him theoretically you were going to have him with Kawhi and then a guy like James Harden, or even before that Westbrook, and that was supposed to be the tandem. But between the two of them, they just missed so many games. Kawhi essentially didn't play at all, and
Right.
Paul George couldn't stay healthy as the number one. Now, I don't think Paul George is, I mean, he could be a number one. I don't think he's a bona fide number one on any team. I think he is like a role player guy. He could be like a number two or number three guy. He's still very capable of scoring and putting up good numbers. The thing with him when I watch him is there's games where he looks lights out, like he just can't miss. And then there's other games where he's just like completely opposite, like he just can't make a bucket. So it's really hit or miss with him. But I like this play. I do. It shows that the Sixers are a team that, have their number one guy in Joel Embiid.
Yes.
Tyrese Maxey seems to be coming up as, potentially even their number two. He's been huge for them. And they just signed him for $204 million for a 5-year contract. And then they got Kelly Oubre, who still has some juice left in the tank. So bringing in another guy who can score, who can make big time plays, who you can put the ball in his hands when it matters. I think that they're showing that they're trying to go out and do something, because the Eastern Conference, as I just said, could be still dominated by the Celtics for a while. And it looks like, a team like, the Sixers, they got to add a piece in order to be really competitive. You look at the Knicks and they have pieces, and you look at like some of the guys they had injured throughout the year, Julius Randle and who was it?
I mean, everybody towards the end.
Robinson, Mitchell,
everybody,
and then they just re-signed Unonabe. So like they're a team that beat the Sixers. So like it was clear the Sixers needed to do something. I like the play. I always like when a team gets aggressive. Whether it works out or not, I don't know, but it shows the commitment from the team and from the owner that they're trying to go out and do whatever they can to win a championship. And I applaud that. I think it can't hurt them. I can't see a way it hurts them.
Yeah, and I think, again, what you said in the beginning, the health of Paul George will tell the tale there, but also the health of that team in general. Is Joel Embiid going to be, when you're that big of a human being, man, like the body just breaks down so much more easily. And I mean, I'm not even close to the size of these NBA guys. I mean,
5 inches.
That's what I'm saying. These guys are massive dudes. So I think the health of the Sixers will dictate what happens moving forward. But yeah, Knicks got aggressive early in free agency, made the move with the who was that they traded with Brooklyn, no? For
they got Mikal Bridges
for Mikal Bridges.
But
they traded with Brooklyn 5 first-round picks. They shipped back.
But they were very low. They're very low picks.
Right. That's why it's not like people. I think here 5 first-round picks, and for casual basketball fans, I think it's not like NFL. Yeah. It's not like you're trading 5 first-rounders in the NFL. So it's a little different. But the point is that the Knicks got ultra aggressive early, like you said, Joe. They re-signed OG Anunoby, which I think was surprising to some people. I think Knicks fans maybe thought they weren't going to be able to do that once they went for Mikal Bridges. So the Knicks are remaining aggressive. Celtics locked up their guys. Sixers going lock up their guys. So the East is these guys are jockeying for position and trying to play, keeping up with the Joneses a little bit, it seems like. So it's going to be interesting. Klay Thompson to the Mavericks took a higher deal than he would have to go to the Lakers. He decided to turn that down to go to the Mavs. Klay Thompson, does he still have anything left in the tank, Joe? He kind of had a couple rough last years there in Golden State, but we all know the Splash Brothers and how great they were, and Klay was a major part of that, obviously. But I don't know. I don't know if he still got the sauce, but the Mavericks certainly needed a bench guy. He may start. He may start. I don't know. But they certainly needed a quality player. They needed someone of quality, and he brings, obviously, a wealth of experience, a wealth of a resume that's second to none. So, I mean, I think it's a good move for the Mavericks. I don't know about Klay Thompson himself, but for the Mavericks, I think it does make sense.
Well, he's also, like you mentioned, he's won championships and multiple ones. He knows what it takes to win. He's just a very unfortunate circumstance. Obviously, got hurt, rehab the entire year, came back and got hurt again. This was obviously a couple of years ago. But when you have multiple serious injuries like that, it is so hard to come back, which is why what Steph Curry has done is so incredible, because he has been. I mean, if you remember him early on, he couldn't beat the injury bug, and then he got healthy and he just went off. But Klay Thompson, still has it, man. He's still one of the best shooters in the game. And you look at these games that are now dominated by the 3-point line, you got to have guys who can drain buckets. And I think
That's right.
what killed the
That's
Mavs in the
right.
finals is you look at the amount of attempted 3-point shots that the Celtics took compared to the Mavs, and then how many makes. That's a series right there. I mean,
Yep.
they couldn't hit. Luka didn't get hot from behind the line. The previous series, he couldn't miss against the Timberwolves. So, and as you mentioned, you get a guy, they could probably take him off the bench. He could lead that secondary core and be a real role player and instrumental. I think it's, for the Mavericks, you got to make a stab at someone like that when he's available. You got to see what you can get, because there's sometimes where you see, especially in free agency, some of these guys look like they're on the downswing and then out of nowhere just have a big season, especially in a new system, in a new, new environment, when they're asked to do maybe a little bit less. So it'll be interesting to see. It's got to be tough for him after being a Warrior for that many years to like not be with the team anymore, but I mean, he's still getting paid, so I don't feel too bad for the guy.
No, yeah, that's right. And then we mentioned the Lakers. Obviously, the Lakers go out and do what I think everyone kind of had the inclination they were going to do, and they draft LeBron James's son, Bronny James, LeBron Jr., whatever you want to call him. There's so many opinions on this. And I saw an interesting tweet from our guy, Ryan Clark, who we have a lot of respect for, former guest of the Brilliantly Dumb show, and our guy from ESPN. And, he put something out about nepotism and people complaining about that. But, he makes a good point that in all these front offices and a lot of these coaching jobs and all these things, some of these guys who are less qualified get their opportunities because of who their fathers are. Right, wrong, or indifferent, he makes the argument that LeBron Sr., LeBron James, worked hard enough and accomplished enough to give enough to this sport to make it, an okay thing that his son got drafted. Almost saying like, if his son didn't earn it necessarily, if Bronny didn't earn it, LeBron more than earned it to get the opportunity to play with him. Listen, to me, it's about it's about the organization and the team. Like, if it's about the team and it's about the success of the franchise moving forward. And I understand the NBA is not like the NFL, where once you get out of the first top picks of the first round, like, you don't find, like, it's rare to find super impactful players in late round 1, early round 2, round 3. It's not like that. But in my opinion, you're building a franchise, you're building a team moving forward. I just think it's a very difficult sell if I'm another player on that team. If I'm another player on that team, or I'm a fan of the team, which I'm not, or involved with that organization, it's hard to sell to me that this kid is the best thing for the Lakers moving forward. And that's the people that you want to add to your organization, is people who are going to make the organization as successful as possible. And I just don't know if Bronny James is going to do that. I mean, maybe he will. Maybe he's going to be better than he was at USC, and maybe he's going to be surrounded by...
Certainly, it's not hard to do that. He did basically accomplish nothing there.
Right.
I have a couple questions. The first question I have is, do you even think he would have gone in the second round? Do you think they could have come and taken him back in the third round?
I do.
And which to me is mind-boggling then, because he didn't play hardly at all at USC. He didn't put up impressive numbers. So you take the name away, no one's looking at this guy for a second round pick.
That's right.
And there's speculation that they were warning other teams.
Right. He was going to go play. He was going to go play in Australia. Right.
I don't know if anybody would have been chomping at the bit to get this guy. Certainly, if his name doesn't end in James and he's not the heir to the second greatest basketball player to ever play, because in my mind, Jordan is the best.
That's correct.
But that being said,
that's a good take.
But that being said, my other question is, what is the dynamic going to be with him playing with his dad? I can't imagine how I would be going. Now, obviously, you can't really put into picture, but
it's a theoretical.
Can you imagine?
It's a hypothetical.
You're in high level sports, and little Dom comes up and is on the same team as you. Are you going to take it out? Like, what is the dynamic going to be? Is he going to be able to evolve and grow as a player and establish his own style of play and his own independence when he's on a team that's dictated by his dad? And that goes back to the last part of this equation, which is them hiring JJ Redick, which I think is absolutely, well, say what you want about JJ Redick. He is not a head coach. They had they had Darnell
Yeah,
Ham,
yeah,
who was
yeah.
a good,
He could
not
very
yet,
well
not
turn
yet.
into one.
But my point is, you don't think that the co-host of his own podcast with LeBron James
Yeah.
is not going to be on the team now. LeBron is going to be essentially from the background coaching this team while playing on it. Because I guarantee you, Redick's not going to question a lot of the shit that LeBron says. Whereas if you bring another more experienced coach in, he doesn't have that much leeway to do and say what he wants. So the final thing to sum up all of this is, has LeBron done enough in his career to be able to have that, impact on a team? I would say so, but still, like, as a franchise, as a fan, if you're a fan of the Lakers and you
Right.
want to see them win now,
Right.
you can't tell me that this kid gives you the best option to win right now.
Right.
When you could have gone and picked up somebody in the second round. It's not like they got him in the third or fourth or fifth round.
Right.
They got him in the second round. I don't think he gives them the best option, but who knows? Maybe he comes out and he's a star. I didn't see really anything that really showcased that this guy is the it guy, from his days with USC, which I think he was averaging 4 points a game or something ridiculous.
Yeah, really,
like that.
really,
It was
really poor.
really underwhelming statistics.
And the last thing I'll say on this, and we'll move on, is JJ Redick. I think JJ Redick I think his basketball IQ is unquestionable. I think he's got the pedigree. I think he's got the experience. I think he's got all the things that you need to be a successful coach. My issue is it's a really tough assignment and spot in your first spot in the NBA as a head coach. That is probably going to be one of the most toxic, volatile environments
100%.
to be around, because expectations are going to be skyrocketed through the roof no matter what. The fans,
they're the Lakers.
Laker fans,
they always are.
Right. It's like being the manager of the Yankees or the head coach of the Cowboys. Like, the expectations, regardless of what happened last year or the year before, they're through the roof all the time. Then the dynamic of having to deal like LeBron is known to be like kind of a very assertive, almost like a player coach. And is Redick prepared to deal with that? Redick has a big ego on him too. These are two guys with massive egos in LeBron and Redick. So it's going to be fascinating to watch that. It's actually going to be something that I think will draw me to actually watch a little bit more regular season basketball, perhaps, to watch what happens there. We'll transition now into an upsetting thing for the United States. Bounced in the group stages of the Copa America after trouncing Bolivia in their first game, a horrible Bolivian team last Sunday. They jumped all over them. You got an early red card against Panama. You lose to Panama, a team that they have normally beaten multiple times. And then last night, you're asked to get a result against the Uruguayan team that's won the Copa America like 15 or 16 times. Team. They're always a great team. They're a great team, not at the Copa stage. I mean, they're a successful team at the World Cup stage. So that was a tough ask for Team USA. But here's the thing. I watched the game every single second last night. And you had moments where you saw guys like Christian Pulisic and you saw guys like Weston McKennie. You saw moments, and Reyna, and you saw moments where there's moments of, okay, these guys can produce some world-class moments, but it's the same story every time with United States soccer. They can't sustain it for any kind of period of a long period of time. Their organization isn't there. The chemistry of the team is not there. And it's just little moments and fleeting moments of brilliance. And then it's too incremental. There's nothing consistent about them. And you look at a team like Uruguay, and was the guy offsides or not to score the goal? We know the referee last night, that was one of the worst officiated games of any kind I've ever seen.
It was awful.
That ref was so tired. He lost control of that game within the first 10 minutes. He had lost all control. But there's no excuses. That's the problem, because you're always looking to give the U.S. an excuse. I feel like after every bounce from every tournament, there's always an excuse made. There's just no more excuses anymore. If they're calling this the golden generation of U.S. players, which I don't know if I agree with that, but it is what it is, then they have to do better Greg Berhalter, I'm sure, is going to get fired if he hasn't
Yeah.
been fired already by the time this episode comes
Well, we
out.
thought the Italian coach was going to get fired, and so much for that.
Yeah, Spalletti. I mean, Spalletti, the thing about Spalletti, the difference is like he hasn't been at the national level before and failed. And like they're going to give Spalletti more time. Whether or not he's going to hold true to his word and bring the young guys up, that's the problem in Italy. The youth teams, the U17 team won the Euro Cup. The U19 team won the Euro Cup last year. The U20 team was runners up in the World Cup in 2020.
Bring these young
Italy has an incredible crop of young talent, but the problem is they waste away in Serie C and B. They don't get up to Serie A. And for whatever reason, because it's so stupid and political. But back to the U.S., really, really, really embarrassing fact that they did not make it out of that group. That group with Panama and Bolivia is a group the United States has to make it out of. And, Copa America, you get out of it, you're right in the quarterfinals. It's not like you got to play group of 16 or, group of 16 knockout. Really disappointing. I don't know if you watched the game, Joe, but really just frustrating. Very frustrating.
I watched most. I didn't see much of the first half. I watched most of the second half.
Right.
I have two points. The first point, going back to the referee, and I don't want to make excuses, but this guy was.
Yeah, he was hard.
I don't know what game he was watching.
32 years old, the guy was, and it was only his 7th time as the full like crew chief. He had and I think it was his first high-level international game, which is horrible.
No control. Now, they went to VAR, so you can't blame him on that. I personally thought it was clearly offside, but I mean, you saw in the game with Germany and Denmark, they got it down to a toe. Right. They got it down to a toe. I was watching that on the TV. To me, it looked so clearly like that guy was offside.
Right.
What do I know? I'm just looking at it. So you can't blame him on that, but there were multiple times where these guys were taken down. I felt like Pulisic had like 2-3 guys on him at all times. He was doing everything he could. They were just dragging him down. But going back to your point, and this is what I really noticed in the second half, the U.S. had lots of opportunities. They just really lacked offensive imagination. Once they got into that last third and they got into a position where they could make a pass or two or have an opportunity to get a good strike on ball, it was almost like they were forcing shots or rushing to get a shot that would get blocked rather than taking a second and making that one extra pass or making that one extra play that would open them up. It was like they were just forcing it. And that happened especially after they went down 1-0. They're probably obviously, pressed for time and wanting to get a point. So that was what I noticed. But yeah, just very disappointing because, you've seen an increase in interest in this country for soccer. When you have guys like Lionel Messi coming and playing in the MLS, when you have a superstar like Christian Pulisic, who is your captain, playing, when you have the Copa America being held in the United States and being played there, the interest of this country, I feel like is becoming more and more widespread, that people want to celebrate and watch soccer. And this has been for a few years now. So I agree with what you said. For them to not come out of that group stage is disappointing. And it's, you can't tell me that Panama is a better team than the United States of America. I just don't, maybe call me biased, Michael, but I just don't see
I mean, Uruguay, different story, but Panama, Bolivia, I mean, they took care of business against Bolivia, but the Panama game to me sunk them. The early red card and that loss completely sunk them. And then Panama last night beats Bolivia, and then there was no chance once they took the lead. Panama, I'm saying, because then the draw wasn't an option. When they went down a goal, there was no way they were ever going to score 2. Maybe they would have got lucky, scored 1. But yeah, just unfortunate, another early exit. And switching gears with soccer, Euro Cup, we're almost through to the quarterfinals. We got 2 more games today being played. By tomorrow, you'll know the entire quarterfinals. Today, you got Romania against the Netherlands. That's the early game.
Austria,
and then you have Austria against Turkey. And Austria, the winners of the group with France and the Netherlands, this Austrian team is not a joke. They almost beat Italy in last Euro in the first knockout game. It took extra time for Italy to beat them. They are no joke. They could make a run, but you saw some interesting games. Italy did exactly what I thought Italy was going to do. No offensive imagination. Me and Joe watched that game together, screaming at the television because there was just no hope. Couldn't win a ball in midfield. There's nobody like Andrea Pirlo. There's no Alessandro Del Piero. There's no Francesco Totti. There's no creativity up front. In the back end, Bastoni is more than capable. Calafiori, their best player, was on suspension because of a double yellow. And you know,
Di Lorenzo looked terrible.
Yeah, terrible. And Gianluigi Donnarumma is their best player, their goalkeeper, and you know, he just can't, like, you just can't keep
Bro, he
giving
stopped a
opportunities.
breakaway in the first half.
Yeah, he's a
He
monster.
made multiple. He had a save on a free kick that should have been a goal.
He's
Like
a
this guy,
monster.
every single game stopped like bona fide like goals.
Yep.
And you look at the goals that were scored. He's got no chance being hung out to dry. Normally, the Italian defense is a wall. So like
Yep.
even though you know they're not scoring, they're not giving up the chances. You look at these games that they played, they should have given up 2-3 goals every game if it wasn't for Donnarumma. And the defense just broke down. They didn't have it. The team looked, which is so disappointing because after that comeback against Croatia, I thought, okay, maybe they're going to take this as, hey, we were dead in the water.
Right.
We have life now. Let's come out and play. Because I will admit, the first half against Croatia, they looked very good.
Yeah,
they were pressing. They were getting chances. I was like, this is not what I'm used to with this Italian squad.
Right.
They couldn't possess the ball. They looked like they weren't even in the same category as the Swiss, which is really sad. But hey, you know what? At least we won last Euro Cup. A lot of people never get to celebrate that.
That's true.
So.
That's true. And you know, Italy, if nothing else, they provided one moment of extreme excitement and brilliance.
It was tremendous.
The Sakanya goal against Croatia in the group stages. But Switzerland, organized team, they'll move on. They'll play England. England was on the verge of a total disaster, and then in stoppage time, much like Italy against Croatia in that group stage, Jude Bellingham hit that bicycle kick to equalize, and then almost immediately in stoppage time, Harry Kane scores a goal, and that was it. England was off and running. That may be the spark that England was looking for, because they looked completely lifeless the first 85 minutes of that game.
Well, they're in the right
side of that
the
bracket.
right side of that
Switzerland
bracket.
isn't going to be easy. Switzerland is not going to be easy.
Austria is going to have something to say too. So we'll see what happens. But
it's
anyone's, as far as you said, it's anyone's tournament. You look at Germany last game.
Well, I mean, you look at the other side of this bracket. You look at the other side of this bracket, the quarterfinal on the other side, opposite of England and Switzerland.
Spain.
You have Spain against Germany on Friday.
Oh, that's Portugal,
and you have Portugal against France on Friday. You have the four favorites left in this tournament on the one side of the bracket. Germany, Spain.
Oh,
which is honestly, it's upsetting because I would have loved to have seen that in a semifinal or as the final. Because in my opinion, I think they're the two best teams right now. I don't think it's remotely close. I think they're the two best teams. I think Austria is your dark horse. France, they got an own goal against Belgium to advance. Portugal struggled mightily against Slovenia. It took penalty kicks. Ronaldo missed a penalty in extra time that would have won the game. They are like in a little bit of like, maybe the penalty shootout is what they needed to break out, because they really need to get organized. But yeah, Portugal, France, Germany, Spain, England, Switzerland, and then we'll see who fills out the last quarterfinal. Who do you like, Joe, to win it all from what you've seen?
I actually like coming on the one side that Italy was in. I like the Netherlands. I actually think the Netherlands, everybody's talking about Austria. I think the Netherlands have a ton of offensive firepower. I think that they're kind of flying under the radar right now. So I like them on the one side. And then I got to tell you, man, I think Spain is the best team on the other side. You look at Germany last game, right? You look within a matter of 10 minutes. Denmark scores a goal. It gets disallowed from a VAR for offside. Within literally not even 5 to 10 minutes later, Germany gets awarded a penalty on another VAR. They go up 1-0, and then they were off to the races, and they didn't look back. But there was multiple opportunities for Denmark midway through that second half where they could have been winning that game. So I don't think the Germany performance was that dominating. I don't think it was that impactful. And then you go back to France. Mbappe's been banged up with a broken nose. I don't know how on top of his game he is. And you think, oh, it's a nose, not going to do anything. When you're breathing, you're running like that. Who knows?
Well, that too. And, you're not throwing yourself recklessly your head into challenges like you would normally. Like a lot of soccer is like, you're throwing yourself into these challenges when the ball's in the air to try and contest headers. Like there has to be some sort of apprehension in his head. Like, oh, hold on a minute. Do I really want to throw my face at this about a broken nose with that mask on? Like, yeah, France is interesting. I mean, listen, all the major betting favorites, the top betting favorites are all still there. The only one that's out is Italy, but the top 5 betting favorites are all there. England, France, Spain, Germany, Portugal. Those are the top 5 betting favorites. They all still remain. We'll see if the Netherlands or in Austria can throw a wrench into that whole operation. I think it'll be fascinating. This weekend's going to be great soccer. Great
Portugal
soccer,
to me has been underwhelming all tournament. They barely won their first game. They came back. They scored 2 goals essentially in stoppage time. I think it was, well,
Yes.
the last goal was
Yes.
with 1
Yes.
minute left to
Yes.
spare.
Yes.
And then even this last game, they really struggled mightily to score and to establish anything.
They possess the ball a ton, but it's again like when it comes to finishing, it's like, you know, if Leao isn't on the wing, if Leao on the wing, who runs like an absolute rocket ship, it's kind of like Ronaldo is just forcing everything. It's like everything revolves around making sure Ronaldo gets enough shots, and he just hasn't been finishing. So until they switch something up tactically up front, I think Portugal could have a problem moving forward. But
well, their best player to me is João Felix is unbelievable. I think he's tremendous.
The Portuguese are going to have a tough time with France. I think it's 2 teams that are struggling right now. 2 teams that had big expectations coming in. We'll see which one moves forward, but moving forward in the show, we're going to go to who's a problem. Joe, do you have your problem lined up for this week? Who's a problem?
And I hate to kick a man when he's already down, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. Jamarcus Russell, man, this guy, you want to talk about someone who has for years under, not exceeded. He has completely failed every expectation that has ever been had of him. I can't, for the life of me, think of a bigger blunder of first overall pick than Jamarcus Russell. This guy stunk. Left the league, and now I'm not sure if you heard about this, but there was this whole thing. There was a check that was given to his high school football team, which he coaches. I don't know who wants him as a head coach, but sure enough, he's a coach of a high school football team in the amount of $74,000 or $75,000 meant to be donated to the team. He somehow figured it was donated to his pocket. I mean, this guy is just like, the fall from grace from being drafted first overall in the NFL to stealing a check for 75 grand. I mean, you want to talk sad. That's the epitome of it right there. I mean, what an absolute just sad story, man. And this guy just completely continues to fall to new depths of lows. Just a real problem, man. And someone who needs to figure some shit out probably sooner than later.
Yeah, I read the scandal thing and I was like, what in the world is this guy? He's scamming people now.
Oh my God.
Just absolutely wild, dude. Just absolutely wild. My problem is this kid from Spain, dude. This 16-year-old kid, Lamine Yamal. He is, I mean, you look at this kid, he looks like he should be hanging out with Dominic. Like he's got the braces. He's got braces, a baby face. I'm like, and this guy's out there with grown ass men.
He just finished high school.
He is holding his own. This Spanish squad is, I said it last Euro when they lost to Italy in the semis, and that game was like a nail biting, like almost vomited how close that game was. And it ended in penalties, and Italy was fortunate enough to come out the winner. But this Spanish team is like, I'm just like hoping that it's not going to be another genesis of that like 2008 to 2015 or 2007 to 2015 Spanish squad that was like one of the best teams in the history of the world, because they have so much talent on that team.
That Nico Williams, by the way,
they are loaded, bro. And Alvaro Morata still gets his, and it's just incredible to me watching them, the quality, and just that kid though in particular. 16 years old, playing in the biggest stage of his life, playing very well. He's a problem for me.
And Nico Williams to me is just as good, if not better. I mean, the crazy thing is you look at the Spanish team, and for years they were by far the greatest international squad.
That's right.
When you have Iker Casillas in net, when you have
Carlos
Xavi,
Puyol,
when you have Puyos, when you have Sergio Ramos, when you have, and then you look up top the players
Fernando
they had. It was
Torres.
Like, oh my God, Fernando Torres and Xabi Alonso.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was just player after
Iniesta.
I mean, it was
the
entire roster was a cheat code. And then you go from having a squad like that to then normally you would think once you lose that generational wealth of
There
players,
would be
you'd
like
have a
yeah.
wasteland of talent for at
Yeah.
least a few years.
Yep.
They seem to be just right back on the haul. It's
Mhm.
unbelievable, man.
Yep. I listen, at this point, I would be now, unfortunately for Spain, they draw Germany, which is that's the host nation. Germany's a very good team. If they hadn't, I would be shocked if Spain didn't win this Euro.
What's the line on this game? Do you know?
I didn't look at it yet. I'm taking it one day at a time because I've been rocking and rolling, so I don't even want
That's
to
the
look
game
ahead.
to watch, man. That's
Oh,
going to
12
be a
o'clock Eastern
must-watch.
on Friday. If you don't watch soccer and you're thinking, why do these guys talk about soccer? How great is it? How good could it be? 12 o'clock Friday. Block your schedule off for Germany, Spain. That is going to be
unbelievable,
a show.
man.
That is going to be a show. We're going to move into viewer questions now. We've got quite a few. We'll answer a few. Taylor Nelson. If you could shorten or lengthen any sports season, what would it be? For me, it's a no-brainer. It's baseball. I would shorten the baseball
you could
season.
shorten it. You could cut in half. Now, I think, Mikey, if I'm not wrong, probably the reason why they have so many games is to pay these ludicrous salaries, which they pay. I mean, the biggest salaries in any sport.
162 games. Cut it down to $120. Let's cut 42 games off of it. 42 games. I don't think that's crazy. 120 games, I think, is more than enough. Space the games out. Maybe the guys don't play every single day. Maybe, give them a day in between and keep the calendar season the same. So the calendar actually lasts as long, but you just chop down the amount of games. Now, listen,
what about the double headers? I mean, it's
the weather plays a factor.
Yeah, but it's a preposterous amount of games, Michael, which is a problem because anybody who watches baseball can say that the first 30, 40 games of the year, you know what I mean? Like, the first 20 games of the year, what do they mean? Like, everybody's watching baseball in October, September. It's like the playoff hunt, and that's when baseball's at its best because every game is so important and so integral to the teams who are trying to make the playoffs. Then you watch the World Series, and it's unbelievable because every pitch matters. Every game, the starting rotation matters. So to me, it's so evident that the fewer the games played, the more each game weighs, which makes it more important. That's why the NFL is unbeatable because you got 16 games. You lose 4 or 5 games in a row. You're probably 17 now, but I'm saying for many years it was 16. But you lose 4 or 5 games in a row. You're probably not going to make the playoffs. And so every single week, it's like you got to go out there and you got to win your games. So I agree with you. I think baseball easily could cut to 120, 130 even. 162, it's just
it's a lot. Chris Hanna, would you rather work out in the morning or nighttime, and why? Work aside. I mean, for me,
it's morning.
Morning is the best. Morning is the best. You get it out of the way early. And you feel great the rest of the day. It sets the tone for the rest of the day. It usually makes you feel a lot better physically, typically, for me anyway.
I started going to for the gym now for a little while. Nicole has gotten me, to start going again. Thank God, because I was going down a slippery slope and I still have a long way to go. But I will say this, that when you go to the gym in the morning, it sucks getting up and like getting there. But once you're there, you're already there. You work out. And when you leave there and you know that you've gotten that workout done, and then you can then focus on the rest of your day, it's so much better than trying to think to yourself, where am I going to fit this workout? And then especially, I don't have kids. I don't have the responsibilities that you do, Michael, but I can imagine that's got to be extremely frustrating if you're trying to fit in a workout. Amongst everything else, it's really tough. So I would agree. I'd say get it out early and often. Do in the morning.
You got to just, it's just getting over that mental hurdle of the alarm clock. That's all it is. But once you do, it's not that difficult at all. Who would win in 100-meter dash between the sportsmen? This is from Kyle.
Kyle. My God, we might be crawling over it.
I don't know, man. My back, I may jam something in my lower back and go down within the first 5 steps. So I don't know. I don't know. I would take myself with the long strides, but I don't know right now. We'd have to.
I would get off to a quick start, and then I would immediately just sputter out. I like a fart in the wind, man. My endurance is not good. I tell you what, man, with the recent weight loss, you might want to be looking at Tick as the dark horse on that.
Yeah. Yep.
You might,
Yep.
you might have some
He's just gotta,
pep to his
he's gotta
step these
put that
days.
vape pen down for a couple minutes. That's all he's
Yeah,
gotta
that's a
do.
real. You see the one he had in New York? It
Oh
looked
my
like a
God.
television
It was like
screen,
the
man.
Star Trek Enterprise, that thing. It was wild. Gary Seymour, this is a good one. Me and you, Joe. What head-to-head bet with stakes would Joe and Mikey agree to for Green Bay versus the Bears this year?
Head to head, so 2 games.
Yeah.
And he wants to know what we're betting.
I mean, it's tough though, because if they split, then it's like nobody wins anything, right? So it's
You
like
know what a good one is? I would do this, Michael, and I'm not sure if you're down for that, but a good one is always like the loser of the series, if there is a loser, has to buy the other guy an authentic jersey of his choice.
Wow. Sure.
So you pick your team.
I didn't
you
think that's
obviously-
where you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna go the dinner route. So I'm in.
Yeah, we always do the dinner, but you know what?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like, you could wear it on the Sportsman.
I'm in for that.
So I
I'm
think
in.
you pick a jersey, and here it is. I think we got to come up, and we got to do it obviously before the season starts. But in order to avoid the split, maybe you do point differential. So whoever has if they go 1-1, whoever has the better point differential in those games, or we could just go to an old classic, old school coin flip. And then we go from there.
Yeah.
We could do it on the Sportsman too. That could be kind of electric.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. So if the Packers sweep the Bears outright, I'll buy Joe any jersey of his choice. If the Bears sweep the Packers outright, not going to happen. Joe will have to buy me a jersey of my choice. If they split 1-1, we will have a live coin toss. We will have a live coin toss on the Sportsman. So there you go with that.
And none of this replica shit, like one of the authentic jerseys from the NFL sports store.
Yes, exactly. Let's see what else we got. We'll do 2 more. Okay. See, this is interesting now. Would cold cuts ever get into celebrity boxing? If so, which influencer are you fighting? I mean, listen, I know a couple people Joey D would love to get in the ring with. One of them, his name rhymes with Smazbula. So that's one of them. The other one is probably our guy, Bruce Buffer, but I'll let Joe answer for himself.
There's actually multiple guys. That's some I wouldn't mention on the podcast because don't need to be throwing stuff around that's going to get me into heat. But
that's right.
I would, and Mike, you know who I'm talking about. But I would say, I would say, you know what? Get me in the ring with Bruce Buffer. I bet you he beats the living shit out of me. But you know what? At least get me in that ring. I'll announce myself while I walk into the ring, and then you know what? We'll duke it out. Yeah, 1-on-1. I think that would be who I'd go with. But yeah, there's just so many. Hezbollah I can't fight because that's not fair. It had to have him and 3 of his little, his little fucking friends coming at me. Minions. Yeah, little, but yeah, let's go B versus Buffer. I think that's a good one. We already know you're itching to get after Jake Paul. So we already know yours.
Give me Jake, man. Out of fairness, I need like a year or 2 to train and just concentrate on training full time. So that's not fair.
We'll give you that, Mikey.
All right. Last one. Let's go with this one, Joe. I think this is pretty interesting. Well, just these 2 questions I'll answer very quickly because they're for me. Does Mikey have a Wendy's flag to fly at the beach next week?
Wow.
I would actually, you know what? I don't, and I wish I did. Maybe I'll hit Wendy up, see if she could overnight something to me because that would be special. I would like to do that. My best Jersey Shore story. If you know the Jersey Shore well enough, I can't tell the story in a public forum, but I'll be sure to tell Joe on the side. And then last one for us, Joe, together, FMK. You know what that means, FMK, right, Joe? FMK, salsa, guacamole, queso.
Wow.
Yeah, tough, right? I'll go first because I have to kill guac immediately because my stomach, I can't eat guac. Avocado fucks my stomach up so bad.
You're killing guac?
I have to because my stomach, I have these issues with the omega-3s. I don't know what it is. I get like stomach cramps from avocado, whatever. So I got to kill guac right off the bat. I would say that I would marry salsa. I fucking love salsa to the death. I love salsa. I could see salsa every single day.
Yeah,
I could use it every single day. I love fucking salsa. And then I'll fuck queso. That's fine. Because queso, I could get down and dirty with queso. That's no problem.
This is tough. You know what, Mikey?
You going same route?
I think
Bob would marry guac because he's a huge avocado.
Yeah, when you have a good queso, you feel a little naughty, man. You feel like you probably shouldn't, but you can't resist. I can't for the life of me get rid of queso. And then I can't think of anything I have more frequently than salsa, where you just have with chips, you have it with and you add it to your burrito, to everything.
Salsa, man.
I'll marry salsa. I'll
Yes.
fuck queso, and I'll kill guacamole. Let me tell you, it often is not done that good. By the way, you got to get it when they do the table
The
side.
table side, yeah.
It's
And I
nice.
can't even partake really. I have a little bit, but I really have to beware. Sucks.
But when you do the table side, it's tremendous.
Yeah.
But when you buy it in stores, or they just bring some of these times, it's
Yeah.
just like a mess. It's just not that good. So, sometimes you got to be, you get a little bit more than you bargained for with the guacamole. I'll go your route, Mike. I think you're right on the fucking mark with that.
There we go. And that will wrap up the viewer questions for this week. If we didn't get your question this week, please submit again. We'll get to it next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, click, like, subscribe, all that good stuff for the Sportsman Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, across all platforms. Make sure you follow myself, Joseph, the Big Ticket, on all those. Shout out Mr. Anderson for his behind the scenes producing and editing of the show. And we will see you next week.